Hello and welcome to the 31st episode of Bloggers Are Weird. I'm your host, DJ Paris. I write over at thoughtsfromparis.com, and I have a new YouTube show that's coming out with my friend Melanie, melaniesguidelines.com, and that's going to be really fun, so stay tuned. And I also have an app for your Android or Apple device. Just go to your Play Store or App Store and look for Thoughts from Paris, or my Twitter handle, which is TFP, Thoughts from Paris, Humor Blog, and you'll find it. So you can access from the app all of the content I write and these podcasts, as well as the YouTube videos. And I even have a real-time notification, so when I publish something new, you get a little notice on your phone. And I just today uploaded a video of me eating a live octopus from about a month and a half ago when I was in New York at a Korean restaurant. So these are the kinds of great things, content-wise, that I publish online. I'm kind of an idiot. Today on the show, we have veteran comic Suzy Soro, who is also an author. She's a former blogger. She has been on a million podcasts, as well as an actress, and she's done it all in the comedic world. And she talks all about getting started in comedy, touring across the country, doing stand-up, how she got involved with blogging, and why she got out of blogging, how she got her book deal on Twitter. And she also tells a really great story, or at least the first half of a story, about Angelina Jolie. So grab a fifth of peach schnapps, or whatever your drug of choice is. Mine is sadly a Fresca. But sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today's podcast is sponsored by romance-text.com. Looking to reignite the passion in your relationship? You have to check out romance-text.com. This is how to use text messages to bring back the passion and reignite the spark you once had. Now, if you're thinking this sounds cheesy, or maybe it's just learning how to send dirty text messages, it's actually not. This program by relationship expert Michael Fiore has been featured in over 200 television and radio shows. This program has a money-back guarantee, is normally $97, but listeners of Bloggers Are Weird get a special price of only $47 for the entire program. By purchasing the program, you help support this show. Visit romance-text.com and get the passion back. Have you seen that documentary, The Queen of Versailles, by the way?
No.
Oh, you have to see it. Put it on your... It's the largest home in the country.
Oh, that woman.
Yes, the woman.
Oh, yes, I did.
It's amazing.
See that. I know. She is like bananas, that woman.
Yeah, well, it in the movie, you actually start to feel kind of sorry for her, because she truly loves her husband, and he's just kind of out to lunch. He's like so wrapped up in his business that, anyway, that
just describes pretty much 90% of heterosexual marriages in America, probably the world.
Now, have you ever been married, or are you single? I don't even know what your story is.
No, I have no interest in being married. I've been engaged 3 times. And that was enough. Yeah,
you're not good at engagements, obviously.
No, apparently not. No, you know what? My parents, between them, had 5 marriages.
Wow.
Yeah. So I grew up kind of thinking, okay, that's not a stable situation. And I don't know. I don't have I know this is going to sound really selfish, but oh well. I just don't. I've done my taking care of men phase, I've done the cooking, I've done the laundry, I've done all that shit when I was in my 30s. And so now as I'm older, I'm like, no, I don't want to take care of somebody anymore. It's why I never had kids. I was all about my career. And men, no offense to your fine gender, require a lot of caretaking. And no, I did that. I've been there. I'm done.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm in the Midwest, so it's more.
Where
you see more traditional. I'm in Chicago.
Oh, that's a great town, Chicago. Wow.
Yep, it's a lot of fun. Were you? By the way, did you go to the Irma conference?
No.
The Irma Bombeck? No.
No, I don't do those things.
You're not into it.
No, I'm like, as much time as I spend on social media, you'd think I would be into connectivity. I am not. I'm kind of JD Salinger without the talent. You know, it's like it's like I like being by myself and working on my stuff. Um, and yet, and I'm very friendly. I mean, I'm very social when I go to these things. If I go, I have lots of friends. I, like talking to people, etc. But I'm not a joiner. And this is going to sound very pretentious, but I'm more of a leader. And I find that those conferences are just, it's like sheep-like. People go to belong to a concept, and I feel that I am the concept. How pretentious am I, really?
Well, you're not humble,
Mm-mm.
but why should you be, right?
Well,
Humility. I've actually heard humility is not really a virtue. It's to be able to own your power. I think it's a good thing.
yeah,
You know,
well, you're right. And the other thing is, I think stand-up comedy punches the humility out of you, because in
sure.
stand-up you have to speak up for yourself. You have to say, no, I'm the best, and no, I should headline, and no, I should get more money. And if you don't, you won't. And in the first 8 years I did stand up, I did not know that. And then I came to LA and I learned that. So, yeah, you know what? I'm humble, and where it comes to certain things, like whenever people tell me I'm funny, I go, yeah, I know. But then I go, no, thank you, really. I try not to pretend I'm as great as I think I am. Is that?
Yeah, when people say things like that to me, or I get something nice, said on Twitter or whatever, I just go, yeah, okay, thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
because,
Exactly.
but I don't disown it. I don't do the, oh, well, no, I just go, yeah, okay, thank you, because I do think I'm funny,
Yeah, and
just like,
see, and that's the beauty of men. This is what I really think is the difference between men and women, is that men really know how to own their power, and women just don't. And I think it's one of the downfalls of women in society is that if I tell you, for example, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to give you a compliment. You have a terrific voice, just a great, great voice. You should be on the radio. You have one of those radio voices that's just great. And if I tell a woman that, she's going to go, really? You think so? I don't know. That's exactly what a woman would say if I told her that. And
hmm,
men don't say that. I mean, what would you? I just said that to you. What do you respond?
thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think
Uh,
men know how to own what they have and are proud of it. Do you,
yeah, you guys aren't really taught that, growing up. That's not, I mean, maybe more so now than in the past,
maybe,
but
yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. Do you know that there, like 1,000 years ago, there was this thing in Cosmopolitan magazine. Now, I didn't read it, but there were studies on it, and I read it online, where they asked men and women what their best and worst features were. And then they had pictures. So they had pictures of men, pictures of women, yada, yada. And the women, most of whom were really great looking women, would say things like, well, my worst feature is my hair. And meanwhile, she would have beautiful hair. It was that
right.
kind of thing. And then when they went to the men, they would say to the men, what's your best feature? And they would always say something that was clearly not their best feature. Like they would say, I'm tall, and they wouldn't be tall. It was that kind of thing.
Right.
And their self-confidence was so extreme that Cosmo magazine had to do a whole thing on it to prove to women, look, you're failing in the self-esteem department. But that was, I don't know, God, that was when I lived in New York, so that was 20 years ago. So I don't know. I don't think things have changed, frankly. Although
No.
the internet and selfies may have changed a lot of that.
Oh, I think everyone's self-esteem is skyrocketed because of selfies.
Yeah, and that's probably not a bad thing, I guess.
No,
I don't know.
probably not. There's a little bit more narcissism I see these days due to social media.
Yeah.
You need to see every photo of my child's, minor achievements.
You're killing me here. Yeah, not to mention all the. Well, it's funny because on Twitter I don't see it so much. I stayed off Facebook. I had a fan page for many years, and then I just got tired of it. And then I finally joined regular Facebook back in October, and mainly it was to catch up with all my comedian friends. And
Right.
so, they brag constantly, and I'm totally used to it because it's like one-upmanship. They brag, I
Sure.
brag. That's all. But when you look at the mommies on Facebook, oh, dear,
Oh, they're the worst.
oh, the worst. This is my grandson. This is my cat. We went to Idaho last week, and we bought an ice cream cone. I mean, kill me. Kill me now.
Well, it's the narcissism. It's that, people, and I understand your family and maybe some of your friends want to see that, but I don't, and I guess I could turn it off and block people and whatever, but it is amazing how, it's the children thing mostly.
Yeah.
I love when somebody gets clearly heavier. It's usually a woman has some children and, she's not the same shape she was. And then she puts her child as her profile photo. And it's pretty obvious why she's doing that.
Oh my God, I never thought about that. You're probably totally right. Or my favorite is when the Avi is really kind of okay looking because it's from the neck up. And then all of a sudden they post some pictures on Facebook and you're like, oh my God, dude, you're totally fat. And
oh, by the way, because I didn't intro you, so I should do that now. I am talking with Suzy Soro. She's an actress, comedian, author, social media personality. She was the woman on Seinfeld who took the last chocolate babka in front of Jerry and Elaine. And that might be what you are best known for on TV, I would think. Although you did do Curb Your Enthusiasm too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the first episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is really, quote unquote, the pilot. But if you tell Larry, David, who is the star of the show and a friend of mine, if you tell him it's the pilot, he will literally rip your arm off. So you have to call it the special.
Sure. I remember that special. And I remember thinking this, because I didn't know Larry David. I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't know him as a performer. And when I saw that with him and Jeff Garland, I went, these guys are great. And then sure enough, it became the show.
It became the show, yeah. No, Larry is quite the genius. He really was the genius behind Seinfeld. I mean, Jerry had the heat in New York, and a lot of people don't know this, but their first show was called the Seinfeld Chronicles.
Right.
And that went to L.A. and died, I think, after 4 or 5 episodes, something like that. They came back to New York, and I ran into them at Catch a Rising Star, which was a comedy club on the Upper East Side where we all played. And I said, what happened? And they said, oh, they hated it. They're going to cancel it, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, oh, well, that's too bad because it was funny. Meanwhile, I only saw one of them because a friend of mine was on it. And it was okay. I didn't think it was great, but I thought, okay, I want to be supportive. But then, unbeknownst to me, they had a whole deal going on with NBC behind that they didn't talk about. And then they went back to L.A. and it became Seinfeld. One of the problems was there were no women in it. So NBC said, look, it's about 3 men. And it's like enough with the men already. So they threw in Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and that became the show. And then the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you. So you are going to read something for us. And you're going to read from your book. Is that right?
Oh, God, yeah. Let me tell you, I was just thinking of paraphrasing. I was thinking of, can I just hold on. Should I talk about the Angelina Jolie thing or the Seinfeld?
Well, I have more women who are listeners, so they might want the Angelina Jolie thing. I would want the Seinfeld.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't blame them. I mean, the Angelina thing blew me away. Okay, I'll read some, but then I'll, extrapolate on it. Okay, I won't go into it here, but it's in the book. I was evicted from my apartment because I didn't have the money on time is what it comes down to. It was March of 2011. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. I had to go get an attorney. It was like really gross. And so anyway, after I left, this is from the book. After I left the attorney offices, I took time out from my nervous breakdown to drive to Gelson's Market for groceries. I moped from the carbs aisle to the refined sugar aisle and prayed for a Xanax aisle. I also looked for the bleeding ulcer aisle as the stress of losing my home had turned into gripping intestinal pain. And then I saw her, the most famous movie star in the world, Angelina Jolie, which could only mean one thing. I was Brad Pitt adjacent. I don't normally trust brunettes in Hollywood until they've dyed their hair blonde and can be picked out of a lineup with the rest of us, so I was reluctant and suspicious to get closer. But then again, she didn't succumb to Hollywood pressure and dye her hair blonde like all the others, so maybe I shouldn't be suspicious. But why was Angelina Jolie shopping in the deli section? Why do people waste their celebrity being normal? If I was a celebrity, I'd buy the largest throne I could find, maybe a used one the Vatican had up on eBay, convert it into a car, and drive that sucker across country many, many times, making sure to visit every single person I'd ever met in my life. Eventually, I would insist on being buried in it. Angie was slowly inching her cart along, her son Max straddling the front seat. A woman who I assumed was her assistant trailed next to them, checking her BlackBerry. I immediately ran into another aisle and said to the first person I saw, "Angelina Jolie is shopping in cold cuts and cheeses." The man shrugged. So? So? Why must people constantly remind me of my arrested emotional development? I crept back up the aisle and saw Angelina hovering over a case of packaged meats. She was talking to Pax, and it appeared from where I was eavesdropping that he wasn't crazy about whatever she held in her hand. I couldn't hear exactly what they said because sitting in Angelina's cart with a tape recorder would surely land me on the cover of a tabloid, and not in a non-law enforcement kind of way. She moved around a corner, and I quickly followed. I took a deep breath and stopped next to her cart. Looking directly at the sun will burn your retinas. They should extend this warning to Angelina Jolie. She's tall, 5'8". She wore knee-high black boots, a black turtleneck, and black skinny jeans. No makeup except for her famous black Nike swoosh over both eyes. I'm sure she wakes up in the morning with flawless, age-defiant skin. By the time I wake up in the morning, put on all the creams and lotions it takes to regain my lost beauty, it's 6 p.m. I just wanted to tell you how beautiful you are. Thank you. This has been the worst day of my life, and seeing you has really brightened it. Why is this the worst day of your life? I got evicted. And then I started to cry. That's the Angelina Jolie.
Well, that's now I'm ready to slit my own wrist. So thanks for that.
No, it goes on.
I know.
It goes on, but I figure, you're going to look, the paperback is out of print, but the ebook is only $2.99.
Yeah. And we're talking about Celebrity Stalker.
Yeah.
Or Celebrity Stalker. And that's available on Amazon, and you can hear the rest of that story there. Tell me about, are you from LA originally?
No, I grew up in Washington, D.C., and Paris, France. I have a French mother and an American father, and so I spent all my summers in Paris and all my winters in D.C., and I went to university the first 2 years in Paris and the last 2 years in D.C.
How did you get into stand-up?
God, that's a really great question. My sister and I were in Paris and, just really slumming around. And we discovered there was the American Legion in Paris. And we went in and they had like a talent night. And I said to my sister, we should do some comedy. And she looked at me like, what? We don't even do comedy. And I said, oh, come, I'll write something. And so I went to the guy in charge and I said, look, we're going down to the south of France for a couple of weeks, but when we come back, can we, be on the show? And he said yes. So we went to the south of France. We spent, a couple of weeks there, and I wrote this really stupid, bit for us. It was just kind of sister stuff. And we came back and we went on stage, and we did that all summer. And then after I moved back to the United States, then my sister moved back. I wanted to do it again because I'd moved to New York. And I said, come on, Lindy, my sister's name is Lindy. She's prominently in the book, by the way. P.S. She's the one who dated Johnny Carson. She's the one that dated one of the Rolling Stones. Half the book and the people I've met and annoyed is because my sister knew them and/or slept with them. So we're in New York, and I said, come on, let's do stand-up again. And she was like, no way. She just didn't want to do it. So she bowed out, and I did it by myself and spent 8 years in New York slaving over a hot microphone.
Yeah, and so who did you grow up? I mean, who did you come up with? Who were some of the names that you palled around with at that time?
My friends at the time were Joy Behar, who was one of my best friends, um, Suzy Essman, Rita Rudner, God, I'm trying to think, Margaret Smith, Kathy
So
Ledman.
you came up during the boom then. I mean, you were
Right.
part of
Yeah,
the
pretty
big
much.
comedy boom.
Pretty much. The boom was happening, but I was too new to be included in the boom, i.e., going on the road, making all the big bucks. Those were the men, like, Paul Reiser, Jerry Seinfeld. Those guys were really the boom comics who they had been doing it longer and they were already out on the road making lots of money. I was in the boom time, but was so new and didn't have enough material. So my boom time was, the clubs of New York, and that was pretty much it.
So you did 8 years in New York, and then you moved out west?
Yeah, I moved to LA because it just wasn't happening for me in New York. I just wasn't having the success that I thought I should have. And my sister lived out in LA, and I thought, well, I might as well go there. It can't be worse than here. And so I moved out here and, immediately got an agent. I had so many agents and managers in New York. It was kind of like a, get one, drop one, or you get one, then they drop you. There was nothing consistent in New York. But when I came out here, I got an agent and it was very, very consistent. He sent me out on the road. I worked a lot. I got sent out for a lot of sitcoms, yada, yada.
And then, did you work the clubs in LA? Was
yeah.
that was your home base, or were you just on the road constantly?
No. My home base in LA was the Improv,
Sure.
and a club on the West Side called Igby's.
Yep.
And those were the two clubs that I played.
Yeah. So you don't have any good Mitzi Shore stories from the Comedy Store?
It's very funny. I will tell you one Mitzi Shore story that I just love. One night, but this isn't when I lived here. I think this is like in 1988, before I moved here. I was I was full of myself and thought I was fabulous. And I went to audition at the Comedy Store because rumor had it she loved women. Whoa, was that not true? So I go to audition, and on the same night I audition is Adam Sandler. Now, I know Adam from New York because we played a lot of the same clubs in New York. So I audition, he auditions, we're both outside talking, and, we're all like, I said to him, so Sandler, comics always call themselves by their last names. You never use your first name. So I'm all, Sandler, how'd it go? And he went, not good, Soro. How'd it go for you? And I went, not good. And neither of us passed that audition that night. So when Adam went on to become a huge superstar, I just really wanted to call Mitzi and go, you are such a dumb ass because you passed on Adam Sandler. Of course, she also passed on me, and I'm not as big as Adam Sandler, but, hey, stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what did you get, like 7 minutes in front of her?
Oh,
and then
7. 7 would have been delightful. I think you get 3 or 4, maybe 5.
So how long, were you on the road, full time, and are you still? I'm not even sure if you're still doing that.
No, I'm not on the road anymore. I transitioned to full-time writing. When my agent in LA was very generous and had a lot of connections, so I did a lot of road work. I did a lot of work in all the clubs in Seattle, in Portland, in Arizona, all up and down. I did Vegas a couple of times. But then after about 2 years, one of the other acts at my agency, she and I hit it off really well because we really both believed in plastic surgery. So we ended up talking about plastic surgery, and that led to, we should go on the road because when you go on the road as a female comic, the men are kind of gross.
Sure.
Yeah. Which in my book, there's a story about Oprah Winfrey and what happened to me in one of the comedy clubs. in the condos where they put us up, because it's usually a woman with two men. It's very rare that it's two women and a man. It's always one woman, two men, or all men. And so my business partner, Leslie Norris Townsend, Leslie says to me, look, why don't we just think of something and go on the road ourselves without men? And she goes, can you think of any idea? And I said, well, you're married, I'm single. I don't know, we should just go find a divorced person and call ourselves single, married, and divorced. And she went, uh-huh, and that was it. That was kind of the whole convo. And then she called me back 2 days later and said, we are going on the road as single, married, and divorced. She ended up loving the idea. She talked to a bunch of people about it. Our agent loved it. We went to HBO with it. I mean, we did a lot of promo for it that kind of went nowhere in terms of LA and HBO. But we went on the road for 8 years with that show and did very well. And what a lot of people don't know is we were the first group that sold out comedy clubs long before, who's that guy? Jeff Foxworthy, that Redneck tour, and the Queens of Comedy, the Kings of Comedy, all that stuff. They came after us. We were the first ones that went out. We were the first ones that blew open the doors and sold out clubs. And basically, based on us, they all followed suit. But because we were three women, we had and at that point, we'd fired our agents and taken on managers from New York. And they were okay. They weren't, I don't know. The problem was it's very hard to get money out of comedy club owners. Very hard.
Right.
And so what happened is we had to pay the third girl that came along with us. And we, paid for her airfare, everything. So we wanted more money, and they just never would give us more money. And after 8 years, it was like, all right, we're done here.
Yeah. Did you guys ever think of, putting it out as obviously you said you were meeting with network executives, but doing your own, local show that would have a run and just be at the same place for a certain amount of time?
Well, that's a good idea. The problem was that Leslie, who was literally married and had 2 children, she had one while we were on the road, and we ended up traveling in the South with a nanny and her child. That was fun. And so then she she moved out of LA, went back to Ohio where her husband lived. And, then they had another child, and that kind of killed it for us because, I was in LA and you can't do a regular show, unfortunately. I did do the show here in LA, not in Los Angeles, but around Los Angeles with other girls who I hired. But it was a different time then, I mean, now people put up their shows all the time and make it work. One comes to mind, 3 Blonde Moms, friends of mine. Great. If you ever see it coming to your town, go see them. They're very funny. They're literally 3 blonde moms. And they make it work, but they all live in LA. So unfortunately, single, married, divorced, died a sad death.
Yeah, it's a great concept. I love that idea. I don't know that it's been done since.
No, it's never been done. I tried to sell it at one point. A friend of mine at Warner Brothers got me a very big meeting with a manager here in LA. And I'm trying to remember their name now. Maybe if I hadn't gone back to bed / go to the store, I would remember it. I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I had a big meeting with them, and he looked at my resume, and he goes, wow, single, married, divorced. That's phenomenal. What is that? So I told him, and he said, that should be a TV show. And I said, yeah, you should buy it from us. And he kind of was put off, I guess, by my effrontery and the fact that it was me talking instead of an agent. And out here in Hollywood, your agent speaks for everything. I mean, you may read in the press that, I don't know, Angelina Jolie or Reese Witherspoon or Tom Cruise has got this great deal going on. The bottom line is all those deals did not happen person to person. They all happened through agents. And Hollywood only has respect for that, which is stupid, but it's true. So here I am in this guy's office, and, I'm just blabbing on about the show, and he probably just thought I was an idiot. And at that point, we had no manager and we had no agent, so I couldn't really do anything with it. It's sad the thing has died. I try and keep it alive online, but I don't know. Sometimes it's like when you break up with a guy, you think that was the one, and it turns out it wasn't. So maybe single, married, divorce wasn't the one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about comedy is, it's sort of an ageless creative outlet. I mean, you don't lose it necessarily over time, or you don't peak. I mean, George Carlin, I don't think peaked until he was near the end, in my opinion. I mean, his stuff, or at least remained consistently good, to the end. And a lot of comics, I just saw a little bit of Bill Cosby recently, and I went, boy, he's almost just as good as he was when he did himself, when God knows when that was, early 80s, maybe it's late 70s. So I think comics can just keep it rolling, as long as they're working.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't given up on it. Like I said, I transitioned out of that. It's probably because I really, I'm kind of, like I mentioned, I'm J.D. Salinger without the talent. I like sitting in my house and writing. And so, nobody's over you telling you what not to do except your editor, basically. And Hollywood and show business is very, very complicated and very, very, you have to have a temperament for Hollywood. If you have a big mouth and if you think your way is the only way, you're not going to do well out here. It's all, there's a famous Ellen DeGeneres story, which I just love. Ellen DeGeneres' first, first sitcom was called These Friends of Mine. And she had already peaked on Carson with her thing, and Johnny had called her over, and she was starting to get big. And so they pulled her in, and they were going to give her a sitcom, and they said, okay, this is the name of your show, These Friends of Mine, and this is who's on it. And they told her who all the co-stars were. And she sat there, and she went, okay, great, that sounds good. And then they did it for a year, and the show got picked up, and the show was a huge hit. And she went in for the meeting for the pickup, and they said, okay, so blah, blah, blah. She go, all right, well, first of all, the name is no longer These Friends of Mine. The show is now called Ellen, and all the people that you hired, I want gone. These are the people that I'm hiring. And that's kind of how, that's really sort of the metaphor for Hollywood. It's like you have to, it's not even a metaphor, I don't know why I said that. Once you get fame, you can kind of call your own shots. But until then, you're at the mercy of these idiots that run this town. So, and they are idiots, trust me. I hope some of these idiots are listening so that I can, again, put another nail in my coffin in Hollywood. But you just have to be very kind of circumspect, and you have to be very, you have to be amenable to all kinds of crap they're going to throw in your face that are just stupid sounding. And you have to go, until you get what you want. And then when you get what you want, then you call the shots.
Well, Roseanne was just on Howard Stern last week, and she told that basically exact same story.
Really?
And I think it was after her 8th episode, she said, the network executive said, okay, we get it. You're in charge, and you call the shots at this point. But
wow.
She said it took a good 8 episodes before they realized what they had.
Yeah.
And that, and then she, did her thing and obviously had a lot of success. But yeah, so I should tell that. I don't know if you remember this. So I'm not sure how I probably had just friended you because you were friends with a lot of bloggers that really respect you. And, none of us are, we're not writers or comics. We're just, silly bloggers. But you had published a list. I think it was from, I don't know if it's from the late 80s or the 90s, where it was famous, somebody had published Greatest Women in Comedy or something.
Louis C.K.
Oh, it was Louis C.K. Yeah, that's right.
Louis C.K., yes.
Yeah. And you were on the list, and I wasn't paying attention to whose list it was, and I just wrote, well, Joan Rivers isn't on there, so I wrote list fails without Joan.
Oh,
and
you're the one
that was me. Yeah, and then you were like, listen, asshole, this is my list.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
that was fun.
That list is from 2004, 2005. Did I just do something to the microphone?
No, you sound fine.
Oh, good. I thought I did something. Yeah, we were all in. I don't know whether anyone remembers this because I'm like 1,000 years old, but there was something called news groups long before blog.
Sure.
And news groups were where everybody went to, talk about their thing and whatever. And you could join different news groups. And I belonged to one about stand-up, and then there was one about screenplay writing and all kinds of stuff. And Louis C.K. was part of that group. And it was a very contentious kind of argumentative group of comics who, just wrote stuff like, you suck. No, you suck. I mean, it was just so unbelievably stupid, but we all loved it because we were all in the same group. And Louis one day wrote this list of the 10 people who he thought were the funniest women. And I made the list. I was the only person who made the list who wasn't famous. And I was like, what? It was just a bizarre thing. And so I've had it for a long time. And then I just posted it on, I guess, Twitter, and I posted it on Facebook. And of course, none of the comedians, what a surprise, none of the comedians wrote and said, oh, yeah, that's good. Congratulations. Nothing. We are such a competitive group, but whatever.
Yeah, you know who I saw at the Irma conference was Judy Gold.
Judy Gold,
is that right?
Yeah.
Judy Gold, and she teaches it now, and that's her gig. And I was I didn't know her. I mean, I sort of remembered kind of her from whenever seeing her on TV, but barely. And but man, she taught an amazing, and I know she's taught a lot of comics, and probably still does. No, I know she still does. And and she also teaches it to the kind of the public, and she's kind of expanded it to other things. But she probably wrote 30 jokes in the hour that we spent in her workshop, and it was pretty cool. She's like she can just power these jokes out, one after another, and it was really cool.
Judy is a great example of somebody who is extremely talented, who should be further along in her career. She should have gotten her own show many, many years ago. But she's an out lesbian. She's 20 feet tall.
Right.
She's very, very powerful as a human being. I mean, if you talk to her, she devours you with her personality. I mean, she's a big presence.
Oh, yeah.
And even though Hollywood is very pro-gay, very, very, very pro-gay, and we always joke about the gay mafia running Hollywood, but it's not really a joke. I mean, they kind of do. And many years ago, my God, 15 years ago, we all thought Judy was going to get a show. She brought her one-person show to L.A. here at the Geffen, and it was phenomenal. It's a phenomenal show. And my sister at one point turned to me and said, well, if she doesn't get a sitcom out of this is just bullshit. And I agreed, and I'm I don't want to be pedantic or, it's sad that she has to teach because she really should be doing more because she's that talented.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it seems like she's turned it into a nice business, but I don't know. But I was blown away.
But just to tell you that you're telling me this, I don't know one comic that knows that.
Yeah. Well, you know who she, I think, unless I've made this up, she was Tig Notaro's mentor. At least I think she was. And she's really come along, and she's a pretty big name out there now. But yeah, you're right. I don't know if comics
but what I'm saying is that I don't know one comedian who knows that Judy is teaching. I don't know one comedian. And that just goes to show you how it's kind of sad for me because Judy's a very funny person. And she should have her own TV show. And whether she's, Hollywood is all about age and beauty and all this other crap that nobody really cares about except middle America. No offense to Chicago. Everybody wants to see the beautiful girls. But Judy is hilarious. It's a shame. It's a shame.
I have a friend who's a director or producer mostly, and she's worked on a million shows, and she's directed some stuff as well. And she was at the E! Network for a long time, and now she's somewhere else. And she's worked all over, and she's just turned 41, and so she's getting a little bit out of the mainstream, she's worked mostly in television. She's getting out of it because she says, I'm over 40, even though I'm not in front of the camera. She said there's a stigma against people who, like myself, who now I'm not seen as cool. I said, but don't they just care about your body of work? And they go, obviously, she's competent. She knows what she's doing. She said, oh, no. She said, it's a real thing. She said, people won't hire me as much as I used to be, especially at a place like E. And of course, no, there's no disrespect from my eyesight to them. But she said, it's a real thing. And she said, and I'm not even talent. She said, I'm just, behind the scenes.
I did a show maybe 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I can't remember. It was just, they do this thing out here where people will call you up and say, will you be a quote unquote contestant for a show we're trying to put up on its legs? And they pay you like $50, $100 to be, that person. So there was one show they were putting up that was about jokes or something. So I went and I ended up talking to a guy who was definitely behind the camera. And, he and I got to talking, and he was very funny, and he was a great guy, and yada, yada. And I said to him, oh, have you been doing this long? I don't know. He was a key grip, or he was, a camera guy. He wasn't a camera guy. He must have been a key grip or something. So I said, how long have you been doing this? And he goes, oh, not long, a couple of years. And I said, oh, really? So what'd you do before that? And he said, I was a comedy writer. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. Maybe you've heard of the shows I've worked on, MASH, Mary Tyler Moore,
wow.
the Bob Newhart show. And I was like, I was stunned, and I said, wait a minute, are you kidding me? I don't understand. And he said, well, they phased me out because of my age. Now, this was I'm trying to remember how long ago it was. It was probably like 15 years ago. I hadn't been in LA that long. And I was like gobsmacked. I couldn't even believe it. And I said, but I don't understand. He said, yeah, I'm too old. At the time, he probably, I don't know. I'm really bad at guessing ages. You really should put me at a carnival and have me guess ages, because I never guess right. You would always get the prize. But I don't know how old he was. But, I mean, to me, he looked a little older. But, when you write on MASH and Bob Newhart and MTM, how do you end up being a key grip on a stupid show filming on, I don't know. It was heartbreaking. And
well, yeah, why can't Hollywood just say, well, clearly this guy can do it. He's done it. He's going to always be able to do it. So let's just put him to work. And
well, because a lot of it, and I kind of understand it now based on social media, because I have friends who are not on social media who I have literally not jettisoned in their entirety, but that I am bored with, because they really don't know the jargon that goes on with being on social media. They don't know, they kind of stay in their little corner and live their little life. And I'm on social media and know all of that life. So when I talk to them and I happen to mention something, like I can't even think of something off the top of my head, but they'll go like this, what are you talking about? And I'll say, oh, it's this Facebook, like a meme, for example.
Right.
And you say, oh, there was this funny meme about whatever. And they'll go, what's a meme? And, it's
right.
like, okay, so now I have to stop and explain it. And eventually, I know it sounds really shallow, but I just kind of moved on from that. So I think that, and these weren't good friends that I moved on from. These were just tangential friends that I just kind of got bored with. But whatever. That's how Hollywood operates. They're like, if you're 40, you couldn't possibly know about what the zeitgeist is all about. So you
Sure.
possibly know that blah, blah, blah is happening, or this is trending, or whatever. And so they think that, a 40 or a 50-year-old man can't possibly know. And boom, they're like, oh, it's like in the tech field. It's like look at businesses all over America. 50-year-old men who are in jobs since they were 22 are being let go because they think they don't know about X, Y, and Z that's happening in their field. They could learn it, but, the higher ups think, no, they're never going to learn it. And they just, get rid of them, hire younger people who don't cost as much, which is the other problem. And they move on from there.
So you're right. And let's talk about embracing some of the technology, because you've done a lot with Twitter, and it's actually worked out to generate some opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So because you got your book deal on Twitter, right?
I got my book deal on Twitter. I cannot tell you. The funniest thing about me and social media is that I'm like one of these reluctant people that was dragged into it, because I keep thinking, really? do I really want to do that? But my friend Ann Imig out of Madison,
Sure.
Wisconsin, Ann's Rants on Twitter, by the way. She's
great.
She's great, and she's the national director of Listen to Your Mother. So if any of you out there are moms and you want to, join a show, begin a show, really look up Listen to Your Mother on Twitter or on Facebook or Ann's Rants. And they were in, I think, 32 shows this year, 32 cities this year. Anne kept saying to me, this is when I was blogging, she kept saying, you have to join Twitter. And I'd go, I don't think so. And one day she said to me the magic words, Twitter will expand your audience. And I'd never looked at it that way. I just kept thinking it was just going to be me talking to other people, the end. But the reality is that if you're just blogging, you have an audience, but blogging is dying. It just is. It's nobody knows why. It's just run its course, and it's kind of dying down now, and everything's gone to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Tumblr and Instagram are the two biggest social platforms right now that are getting bigger every day. And so she was the one that said, you need to go on Twitter. So I went on Twitter, and I just kept writing jokes on Twitter. And the more I wrote, the more people started following me. And then eventually some people started following me from the East Coast, and they started interviewing me and doing podcasts with me. And the next thing you know is they emailed me and said, do you want to do a book? And that's how I got my book deal. I also have a joke writing job that I got off Twitter that I've had for almost 4 years now, where I write for corporate clients. And, I can't say enough about Twitter. I know a lot of people don't like it because it seems like no one will talk back to you. It seems like you will put out there something and no one will, you'll write to somebody and you'll say, oh, how did you do that? Or I like your oranges, and nobody will answer you. And so it's kind of, it kind of makes you not want to do Twitter, but you have to really hang in and you have to really be, what do they call it? You just have to keep believing that one day it'll all turn around. And it does. Eventually it turns around. And so, that's what I think about Twitter. End of rant, as they say.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years now, and I've built up, I think a respectable number of followers. And, a few times there's been a few opportunity things that haven't panned out, but only because somehow, somebody followed me from somewhere. And I actually just created a website. This is my vanity project just for fun, where you actually log into Twitter, and I have a website called famousfollowers.me. And just strictly because I wanted to see how many verified accounts, the quote famous people, unquote, who follow me. So I built a website that does this, and anyone can do it. It's just for fun. It doesn't cost anything. And so I'm always wanting to see who follows me. But yeah, I mean, my thing is, you just put out good quality content, good jokes, and, who knows? You let the chips fall where they may. But that's where I get nearly all of my blog traffic. Facebook doesn't really work for me. I've got 3,000 or 4,000 people that follow me on Facebook, but I've got over 100,000 on Twitter, and that's just worked out better for me. And, I'm not a superstar in any capacity, but
always listen. I have, I got my own book deal off it, but I've also been published in 4 anthologies that I got off Twitter.
Right.
And, that was also the perk of that to being contacted from a Twitter person and saying, we want you to be in our anthology. Can you submit? And 4 times I did, and 4 times and I have another one coming out. The last one I did was Moms Are Nuts, which was published in April, and I have another one coming out this year that I'm in. But the thing is this, that I always tell people, be careful of having too many followers, because there's a lot of people that buy their followers, and there's a lot of people that just blindly accept new people. I don't blindly accept everybody. I accept you if you have a decent bio and you say something ridiculous, but if you're just going to post links to stuff and blah, 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 no, I won't follow you back. But I think that I've gotten a lot of people ask me who have many more followers than me. I've only got like 4,400 followers. But people say, how can you have so few followers and have had so much success in publishing? And I go, because I don't follow everybody. And I talk to the people who do follow me. And if they write me or if they ask me something, I answer them back. So, I sell books and, I have a personal relationship with people, and that's very important on Twitter. If you're going to join Twitter, do not be one of those people that goes out and buys 20,000 followers because you think it'll make you look important. It won't. It'll make publishers, and this is the important part, publishers know the people who've bought their followers because they can see by the numbers.
Sure.
So it's a whole thing. Social media has really turned publishing on its ass now, too. And so now everybody's on to the whole Twitter, oh, they bought them. Oh, they didn't buy them. It's clear looking at my numbers that I did not buy any. I did not buy anyone. But, I've been on it for almost 5 years, too. But I'm very, very, I'm very careful about who I follow. But, if somebody says, look, please follow me, I do. If somebody says, look, I saw you on this show, please follow me, I will. Or I heard you on, DJ's podcast, please follow me, I will. I like to have a personal relationship with people. I think that's what has made me successful in publishing.
Who I just was reminded of this. And rarely am I able to go through and see I don't really pay attention to who follows me, except for do this little famous thing just to see. But who just followed me, and I just happened to catch it. I don't know how I noticed it. Was Julie Brown? Do you remember Julie, the comedian Julie Brown from
Downtown Julie Brown?
No, not Downtown. Just Say Julie.
Oh,
so she was on. Remember, she had the TV show on MTV. Just Say Julie. She's
the black girl.
No, that's Downtown Julie Brown.
Oh, I thought that was a white girl down.
No, Julie Brown was the white girl, red hair, did the,
all right, now I'm confusing my Julie Browns.
There's two of them, and they were both on MTV. So
which one was Downtown was the black girl?
Downtown was the black girl, and then
the redheaded girl was just Brown. Okay, gotcha.
Right, and she was in Earth Girls Are Easy, if you remember that movie.
I remember. I know her very well, yeah.
Yeah. So she followed me, and I wrote her back, and I said, I just wrote her and I said, whatever. I grew up, watching her show, and she had that hit song, Cause I'm a Blonde. I think that was one of her big comedy song back in the maybe late 80s. Anyway, so she was, I was pretty impressed that she followed me, but, yeah. So anyway,
did she write you back?
She did, yeah.
Well,
she wrote me back.
Because normally people out there listening do not ever respond to someone who follows you by writing them back. It's considered like a no-no on Twitter. People do it all the time. Someone just did it to me. I followed them, and they wrote, "Oh, thank you so much for following me." And,
who cares?
I wrote them back, but the point is, don't thank people for following you. It's just not done on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I think what I said was, I made a joke about her, but it is kind of funny, and Twitter's been such a big boom for me, and so many bloggers stay away from it, and they focus more on Facebook, which is I think easier to do, and they're they don't understand the power of Twitter, but you've had success, and
you've had success, and so between us, we both know that.
It works.
I push Twitter. I push Twitter on people, but I understand their reluctance because I had initial reluctance because I didn't quite see the point. I was like, I don't get it. What do you do here? And I think eventually I made the choice to just write jokes, although I do just often talk to people. But if you're out there and you're reluctant to join Twitter, but you're looking to expand your audience and connect with other people, then, join it and at least make a comment every now and again. A lot of people, if you know anything about hashtags, the hashtag is the # followed by a word. If, for example, people who follow The Bachelorette, whatever night it comes on, I don't know because I don't watch it. But if you go on Twitter, they'll hashtag Bachelorette, or they'll hashtag Orange is the New Black, or they'll hashtag Game of Thrones. And you can follow all the people talking about your favorite television shows, and you can be part of that conversation. And I find that a lot of lonely people, because, let's face it, we're all kind of lonely. We're all sitting at home going, wah, I have nothing to do. It's Wednesday night. A lot of times Twitter becomes that place where you can watch your show, go onto Twitter, look for the hashtag for whatever show you're into, and everybody will be talking about it. And you can talk about it, and you get a whole new group of friends. That doesn't really happen. So I'm on Facebook too, but I don't really see that happening so much on Facebook. But I'm a big Twitter. If you ever have doubts about Twitter, follow me on Twitter, Hot Comes to Die. And if you have any questions, ask me. I will walk you through it. I will tell you how it's done. And, and I'll follow you back.
Well, there we go. Let's plug all your stuff. Speaking of Twitter. So Hot Comes to Die is Twitter. You've got, do you want to plug your Facebook?
Facebook is just my name, Suzy Soro, SUZYSORO. My book is called Celebrity Stalker. It's on Amazon. The ebook only is available. The paperback is out of print, but the ebook is only $2.99. Come on, people! It's like
I think
I'm practically giving it away at that price.
Right.
And the newest anthology I'm in is called Moms Are Nuts, but I've been in a lot of them. If you look at my Twitter bio, it lists all the books I've been in.
Yeah, I've started to do that, write for anthologies as well, and it's just there's probably little money in the books I'm in, but it's fun.
Are you interested in that? Because I can recommend you to someone right now as we're speaking on the phone.
Sure.
I have a friend who I became friends with on Twitter. This is the other advantage of Twitter, of course, is you make great friends that are not IRLs. They're just people that you just hook up with. And he's doing a new anthology. And if you'd like, I can recommend you to him, and you can submit something to him.
Sure.
I won't give you the particulars over Skype, but I will give you privately. And this is the beauty of social media.
Ever since I've been connected with other bloggers, which Facebook groups or Twitter. The anthologies are real popular right now. I'm doing a number of them, and they're a lot of fun because you get to meet the other writers and just get your name out there, and more eyeballs get to see your stuff. And
listen,
it all goes.
I just gave. If you're not, there's another woman who has a great. I just put her on my Facebook page, Britt Rents, Reins, and she has a TED Talk on how to be happy. And
I saw you posted that. And I haven't seen it yet, but I wanted to check it out.
Basically, the premise is if you have everything you think you have, if you have everything in life, but you're still not happy, what are you doing wrong that you're not happy? That's the premise. It's a 17-minute talk. It's really great. She's an internet friend only, but just a dear, smart woman. And what happened was in the comments, I gave her the title for her next book. And I said, I think this should be the title of your next book. And so she wrote back and said, oh, my God, yes, it should. And so now that's the title. And that is the beauty of the social media experience, is getting to be more friends and talking to people and just spreading the love and helping other people. And I think both Facebook and Twitter do that remarkably well.
Well, thank you so much for being on Bloggers Are Weird show and reading from your book and giving all the great stories and just what it's like to be out there as a woman in the entertainment industry. And
I just want to say, my blog, I haven't blogged since October, but I blogged for 7 years, and I finally thought, oh, enough already. People hate you. But I do have a blog out there. It's called Where Hot Comes to Die, which is why my Twitter handle is Hot Comes to Die. So if you ever want to go read anything else I wrote, you can also read it there.
Yeah, I love how you basically said, I've for the most, have you totally stopped blogging, or are you just taking a pause?
Okay, this is the real story that I'm only going to tell you. I had a horrible virus on my computer, and the virus corrupted like everything, and it was just a nightmare. And one of the things it corrupted was I was unable to access my blog. And so I thought, well, that's weird. And so I tried a million ways, and I talked to Google, I talked to AOL, I talked to everybody trying to help me get into it because it was listed with AOL, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get in. So then once I, got the virus removed in January, I thought, you know what? blogging is just not doing it for me. I didn't get any work off blogging. I got work from blogging in 2008, but I haven't gotten work off blogging since then. So it was time to, and Twitter gives me all my work. So I kind of stopped, and I probably have stopped forever, at least for now, until I'm famous. And then when I'm famous, I will just, come back and shove it down everyone's throat.
You could do a Gwyneth Paltrow thing.
There you go.
And create a company and tell everyone what they should be doing.
And make more enemies.
Oh, she's the worst. She's awful. You know what? I just real quickly, when you were telling the Angelina Jolie story, I thought for sure it was going to end with, before she left the store, I saw her in the tampon aisle getting me, extra heavy flow tampons so that you could see she's got, a sense of, something you could feel better about yourself.
You did not go there.
I did. Or maybe like the gynolotrin or something. She was, you could say she's not perfect. But anyway, hey, thanks so much for being on Bloggers Are Weird. And again, follow Suzy on Twitter at Hot Comes to Die. Go to her blog and read her archived stuff. Buy her book, Celebrity Stalker, on Amazon. Check her out on Facebook. And she's always, she's fun. That's all I can say.
Thank you for having me, Honey Bunch.
You're welcome. Say goodbye.
Bye.